I turned quietly and walked away, my mind made up. I've been stuck in the mud for so long, I'd forgotten what fear felt like. I only knew how to get used to things. But Emma, you don't have to get used to this kind of darkness. You deserve real passion and the greatest happiness imaginable. On my birthday, I buried it all with my own hands. I shoved the cake hard into Emma's face. Being liked by you makes me sick. She had liked me for 5 years. Today was my birthday, and she had meticulously planned a surprise party, even getting my roommates to trick me into coming. But in front of everyone, I brutally humiliated her, leaving her with no dignity. The moment I stepped into the private room, the blindfold was ripped from my eyes and rainbow confetti poppers went off over my head. Emma, like an excited puppy, bounced in front of me with a beaming smile, holding a birthday cake. "Ethan, happy birthday!" From the sloppy frosting letters, it was obvious she had decorated it herself. She blushed and confessed her feelings for me in front of everyone. We were high school classmates. She had once told me it was love at first sight. I have a quiet personality and don't talk much, so she was always the one to approach me. For 3 years of high school, she stuck to me like a shadow, constantly giving me fruit and snacks as if they cost nothing, always sharing anything she thought was good. Her eyes were always sparkling when she looked at me, just like they were now. I lowered my gaze, took the cake, and stared at the small dimple beside her lips for a long moment. Then, I shoved the entire thing into her face. I said slowly and deliberately, with dead seriousness, "Your affection disgusts me." Our friends rushed forward in disbelief to pull me away. "What are you doing? Are you insane?" She struggled to wipe the frosting from her face, her eyes squeezed shut, but her hand still gripped my sleeve tightly. I pried her fingers off one by one and left all the chaos behind me. "Hate me," I repeated silently to myself. Outside the mall, the air was filled with cheerful laughter. Giant streetlights lined the road, decorated with red paper lanterns. My birthday is on Valentine's Day. Emma always loved Valentine's Day. She was so vibrant and open, someone who loved and disliked with her whole heart. When she liked someone, she wanted the entire world to know. It was written all over her face. It wasn't that my heart was never stirred. The first time I saw her was on the first day of school. She wore a high ponytail, waving goodbye to her parents at the school gate with a brilliant smile, humming a tune as she skipped ahead. I thought she was strange. Who gets that happy about going to school? She didn't notice that her right shoelace was untied, and her left foot came down right on top of it. She was about to take a hard fall. I rushed forward and grabbed her arm just in time. She looked up, her eyes instantly lit up, and she gave me the sweetest smile. "Hey, thanks so much." Her thank you seemed to last for weeks. Before I had even learned everyone's names in our class, people were already teasing us about being a couple. Seeing me frown, she would blush and argue back. "Don't joke around like that. We're just good friends." "Just friends," they would chant back, laughing and winking. She was quiet and sullen for the rest of the afternoon. After school, she followed behind me dejected. "I'm sorry, Ethan. Have I been causing trouble for you? Maybe I should keep my distance from now on." I calmly pulled a candy wrapper from my pocket. "This one was good," I said. It was from a piece she'd given me last week. "Really?" Her face lit up and she blushed, her earlier worries completely forgotten. "I'll bring you more tomorrow then." The harsh vibration of my phone jolted me back to reality. Edme. My dad's twisted face filled the screen. In the small space next to him, I could see a knife pressed against his throat. He was a mess of tears and snot, and behind him, a burly man was yelling, "Pay up!" I was already used to scenes like this. My ridiculous, oppressive family. A gambling addict for a father who only ever asked for money and smashed things when he didn't get it. And an alcoholic mother who was perpetually surrounded by beer bottles, lying in her own filth and giving me vacant smiles. I sighed deeply. "How much is it this time?" "Not much, not much." My dad's eyes lit up as he gave me a fawning smile. "Just a few $1,000s. A few thousand." The man behind him snorted and pressed the knife in deeper. My dad immediately started bawling. 100,000. It's 100,000. "Good son, my dear son, you have to save your dad." I went through the familiar motions, transferring all the money I had to a bank account. "This is all I have right now. I'll have to get the rest later." The man tossed the knife aside and snarled, "This barely covers the interest. If you dare to not pay up, we'll show up at your school and make sure you can never hold your head high again. Understand?" I'd heard this threat so many times I was numb to it. I ended the call without an expression on my face. The feelings that blossom in your youth, while sometimes superficial, are often pure and beautiful. Emma's affection for me was like that, arriving suddenly and with overwhelming force. For someone who grew up in darkness, how could I possibly refuse the light? At first, I was just curious. Her grades were at the top of our class, so why was she always coming to me with questions from the textbook? I haven't looked at it, I'd say coldly. I don't know how. She'd scrunch up her nose and mumble, "That's right, you've never even passed." The pen in my hand would shake. Then she'd immediately break into a smile. "How about I teach you?" I allowed her to get closer through my silence, calmly watching as she carefully wrote out formulas and explained each step in detail. "Ethan, you try this one." She pushed the paper toward me, her eyes full of anticipation. I actually knew how to solve it, but I pretended I didn't, staring at the formulas she wrote for a long time before I started writing. As I'd expected, she was thrilled. "Ethan, you're amazing. You got it right on the first try." Seeing her celebrate, you'd think I'd solved some great world mystery, not a basic algebra problem. I couldn't stop a small smile from forming. "You're a good teacher." Yeah. Her ears turned red, and she nervously fiddled with the edge of her scratch paper. "I think so too." "Ethan, you should smile more. You have a really nice smile. From now on, let's study together during study hall, okay?" She looked at me with those sparkling eyes, and I thought of a song I'd heard on the school radio that afternoon, "The Brightest Star in the Night Sky." In the middle of all my filth, could I really be touched by starlight? "Okay," I said. That single moment of surrender was the beginning of the end. After all, you can't stay young forever. The gaps in family background, wealth, and status grow wider with age, as reality slowly reveals its sharp fangs. With Emma's help, my grade shot up. I went from the bottom of our class to the top 20. But the happiest person was Emma. She was jumping up and down in front of the ranking board. "I'm so happy for you." I just looked at her, confused. "Of course I am," she said, excitedly pointing at the small distance between our names on the list. "If we keep this up, maybe we can apply to the same college." "Ethan, is there any city you'd like to go to?" An image flashed in my mind, my dad smashing a glass against the wall, then snatching my mom's bottle and throwing it to the floor. The sharp smell of beer filled the air as he roared, "Drink, drink, drink. Why don't you just drink yourself to death? You can't bring in a single dollar." He then grabbed me by the collar and slammed me against the closet. "Did you ask your grandparents for money? If you can't, then go get a job. What's the point of all this studying? Your grades are high, but can you give me a single cent right now?" He stormed out, slamming the door. My mom fumbled to pick up the broken bottle, licking the remaining drops from the glass and muttering, "He gambled away all our money. No matter how much I earn, it's useless. I might as well just drink." I closed my eyes. When I opened them again, Emma was standing on her tiptoes, looking at my face with a grin. "If you don't have a city you like, you should come to New York City with me." I looked down and walked straight back to the classroom. Emma followed, right behind me. "If you don't say no, I'm taking that as a yes. We're going to get into a college in New York together." Slap. Mr. Harrison, our guidance counselor, threw a stack of papers on his desk, his face grim. "Take a look at this." I opened the file. It was all of Emma's answer sheets from the last exam. It's one thing for students to help each other improve, and I support that. But you can't just be selfish and drag others down. He frowned, looking down at me condescendingly. "Emma Davis has a real shot at an Ivy League school. I hope you have the self-awareness not to ruin her future. Your education is your own responsibility. Don't become dependent on others. You need to rely on yourself. Do you understand?" I gathered the papers. Maybe I never should have been greedy for a little bit of light. Back in the classroom, my attitude toward Emma grew even colder. During study hall, she swapped seats with her desk mate, as usual, smiling as she opened her textbook. "Today we're reviewing some old material. I'm going to quiz you to make sure you haven't forgotten." I placed my hand over the page. "Go back to your seat." "What?" she asked, tilting her head. I sneered. "Your own grades are slipping, and you have the nerve to teach me?" She froze. I felt the book in her hand go rigid, her fingertips trembling slightly. She snatched the textbook away and hurried back to her desk. My desk mate returned and stared at me in shock. "Ethan, you're a real piece of work." I said nothing. My blank scratch paper was covered in doodles of stars. 3 hours of study hall, completely wasted. For the next 3.5 weeks, she didn't say a single word to me. I told myself I should be happy. She was so clingy, after all. But every time I went home to that filthy apartment, I would think of her eyes, of the way she smiled when she said my name. "Ethan," my dad, a cigarette dangling from his lips, slammed his foot down on my broom. "You're in high school, for Christ's sake. Other kids your age are already earning money. And you? I tell you to ask for money, and you can't even do that." I took a deep breath. "Grandma said she's pretending she never had you as a son, and she told me not to come back. Damn it. What's the point of having you? Go find a job, and don't come back until you have money." My dad slammed the table and kicked me to the floor. "Sweep, sweep, sweep. What's the point? It just gets messy again. This house is a dump. It's bad luck." He stepped on my hand as he walked out the door. I thought Emma would never speak to me again, and I had returned to my solitary darkness. It was for the best, I told myself, but I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness when I saw her slumped over her desk, not moving. What's wrong with her? I couldn't help but ask my desk mate. It's been 2 days. Is she sick? Why isn't she at the nurse's office? My desk mate shot me a sarcastic look. Well, look who decides to care. I thought your heart was made of stone. Seeing that I kept staring, he finally gave in. It's, that time of the month. I then learned that some girls get terrible cramps. My desk mate mentioned that something warm to drink like hot chocolate could help a lot. I found an old thermos at home and washed it thoroughly. Then I got a part-time job at the corner store down the street. The owner was a nice guy who knew about my family situation and let me work shift during my lunch break and after school. I couldn't get an advance on my pay, so I asked the owner if I could take some items instead. I need some hot chocolate mix. The owner gave me a curious look. Hot chocolate? Is this for your girlfriend? A friend, I mumbled. The owner grabbed a few chocolate bars from the shelf. Take these too. Girls like this stuff. I'll just take it out of your paycheck. I nodded. After I left, I realized I'd left my keys on the counter. When I went back, I overheard the owner talking to the next shift worker. You see that kid? I wonder if that little girlfriend of his knows what his family is really like. He's young, but he's clever. Knows high school girls are easy to fool. Once they're older, what girl would want anything to do with him? I clenched the plastic bag in my hand, standing in the cold wind for a long time before I went back inside. After the next round of exams, Emma was back at number 1 in our class. Mr. Harrison praised her effusively in front of everyone, saying she was the only one in the entire grade to solve the final math problem and asked her to come up and share her method. She stood at the front of the class, looking so confident and bright that I didn't dare look up. Halfway through her explanation, she changed the subject. I also want to thank Ethan. He's the one who helped me sharpen my problem-solving skills. Mr. Harrison looked awkward and forced a smile. Well, helping each other is good, as long as it doesn't negatively impact your grades. I snuck a glance up, and she was beaming at me, her voice firm. It won't. We motivate each other to be better. The other students turned to look at me, snickering. Motivate each other? Mr. Harrison's face soured, but he didn't pursue it, changing the subject back to classroom rules. When the bell rang, everyone scattered. Emma was waiting for me under the big oak tree by the main building. Ethan, she called out, blocking my path with a smug look on her face. You moved up several spots in the rankings. How can you still say you don't need my help? I managed a weak smile. Mr. Harrison's grim face, my father's yelling, the sound of rolling beer bottles, it all flashed through my mind. Should I move forward or retreat? I took a deep breath, wanting to run away like I always did. Emma was much braver than me. She grabbed my arm, making the decision for me. Why are you trying to run? You still haven't answered my question. That hot chocolate and candy that kept showing up on my desk every morning, that was you, wasn't it? She looked at me with a grin. I knew you cared about me. No, it wasn't, I said, looking down at my shoes. Ethan, she said, her tone serious. I know the counselor talked to you. Don't listen to him. He's a friend of my dad's, and he worries too much. You're not affecting my grades. Don't be scared. She stood on her toes to turn my face toward hers, looking at me seriously. We're going to get into a great college together. I wasn't afraid. I've been stuck in the mud for so long, I'd forgotten what fear felt like. I only knew how to get used to things, but she didn't need to get used to it. She didn't. I have to go, I said softly. Why do you always push me away? She called out from behind me. I'll be here with you. Don't be afraid. You don't need to come in anymore. The owner of the corner store told me, his face cold as he ushered me out. When I got home, I found out my dad had gone there and caused a scene, forcing the owner to hand over my paycheck. He was sitting on the couch, bouncing his leg and grinning. That's right. That's my good son. You need to earn more money. I couldn't take it anymore. I clenched my fists, ready to punch him. He dodged dramatically and grabbed a beer bottle from the floor to swing at me. This time I caught it firmly. He couldn't bring it down. He stared at me for a moment, then let out a yell and ran into the other room to hit my mom. Look at this monster you gave birth to. I was right behind him. I grabbed his collar and threw him to the floor. He started screaming, he's killing me. My own son dares to hit me. I punched him in the gut and said coldly, pay your own debts. Don't even think about relying on me. At that, he stopped crying and gave me a shameless grin. Pay them myself? I can't. But I heard you're pretty close with that little girl from your school, right? If I can't get the money, my collectors will go to your school and make a scene. What will your teachers and friends think of you then? What will she think of you? And you want to go to college, don't you? Even if they kill me, they'll still come after you, even at college. Sins of the father. Let's see how you handle that. I was so angry my hand was shaking, but I finally let him go and collapsed onto the floor, defeated. What can I say? You're my son, he said with a laugh, patting my shoulder as he walked out, humming. I kept going, working odd jobs, and studying on my own, refusing Emma's offers to keep tutoring me. My deskmate told me I was an idiot. You don't get it, I said. I can't drag her down. She could be getting even better scores. She doesn't need to waste her talent on me. But she would still secretly leave her notebook full of notes on my desk. Just as little snacks I'd bought with secretly saved money would always appear in her drawer. I never admitted they were from me, of course. After our final exams, Emma pulled me aside, saying she had something to tell me. I had a feeling I knew what it was. It would be a lie to say my heart didn't race. I wanted to feel that warmth, even just for a moment. I went home clinging to a sliver of hope, only to be met by the sound of a vicious argument the moment I opened the door. My parents were physically fighting like wild animals. You're useless. My mom grabbed a beer can and smashed it over his head, splashing beer everywhere. She screamed through her tears. I gave up everything to move here and marry you, and this is how you treat me? You don't care about this family. You gambled away all the money I earned. Now the collectors are at our door, and you won't even let me have a drink. My dad was even more enraged. You think that booze is free? If you'd given me that money, I could have won it all back by now. I looked around at the wreckage of our apartment. The sofa and TV were gone, repossessed. Pay your debts was scrawled in crooked red paint on the wall. Both my parents had bruises on their faces, and their hair was a mess. Seeing me, my dad asked coldly, "Why haven't you been working the last few days?" I took a deep breath. I was taking my SATs. "How'd you do?" my dad asked, smoking by the door. My mom's sobbing was a constant background noise as she gathered her empty bottles, which clinked together. It was fine. If you get into a college, you're on your own for tuition. If you can't afford it, you can go work in a factory. He seemed much happier after saying that, grinning as he walked out the door. My son's finally grown up. My good boy can earn his own keep now. I crouched down and started putting trash into a bag. My mom crawled over and snatched an empty can from my hand. "Mom, it's empty," I said, my voice tired. She just shook her head, clutching it to her chest like a treasure. She smelled strongly of stale alcohol and filth. I grabbed the trash bag and left, feeling utterly humiliated. I lived deep in a rundown alleyway with no dumpsters, so I had to walk a long way to the bins of a nicer apartment complex. "Ethan," Emma's surprised voice cut through the air right beside me. I glanced down at my stained t-shirt. She was the last person I wanted to see right now. I tried to pretend I hadn't heard her, but she came bouncing over. Taking out the trash, I had no choice but to nod quickly and turn to leave, but then I saw a man standing across the street, watching us with a kind expression. It was her father, a gentle, refined-looking man in a tailored suit. Noticing my discomfort, he walked over and patted my shoulder. It was a gentle, reassuring touch, nothing like my father's heavy hand. "I hear Emma mention you all the time. Have you thought about where you want to go for college?" I subtly clenched my fists inside my sleeves and answered quietly, "I haven't decided yet." Emma popped up beside him. "New York. Go to New York. Go to New York." Her dad laughed and gently tapped her on the nose. "You little rascal. Let him decide for himself where he wants to go." She made a face at him. They seemed so warm and happy together, a world away from mine. His phone rang, and after a brief conversation, he took Emma's hand. "You should come over for dinner sometime," he said to me. I just stood there and watched them leave. Their figures looked so warm walking away under the yellow streetlights, while I was left standing in a dark corner. We were only a few feet apart, but it felt like we were separated by a bottomless canyon. The starker the contrast, the more deeply you feel the gap. There would never be an opportunity for us. I wasn't worthy. When I got home, a message from Emma popped up on my phone. "Have you decided where you're applying? Are you going to come with me?" A tear fell, blurring the words on the screen. Without a moment's hesitation, I blocked her number. She loved New York, so I applied to a school in Austin, Texas, more than 1,500 miles away. We didn't speak again until my sophomore year of college. We had no contact at all. In high school, my good fortune was meeting Emma, who warmed my life with her passion. In college, my good fortune was having 3 great roommates. When school first started, they would often whisper in a corner away from me. I assumed they disliked me, so I kept my distance. Then one day, they suddenly gave me a pile of things. A thick comforter, a good thermos, and a warm winter coat. They gathered around me, saying, "You came all the way to Texas for school, and you're sleeping under a thin blanket like that in the winter? Are you trying to freeze to death?" I wanted to thank them and offered to buy them dinner, but they all refused with weird looks on their faces. "Forget it, Ethan," one said. "You're either in class or at work. When would you have the time?" "Yeah, man, you should use that time to get some sleep," another added. I worked 3 part-time jobs. I served food in the dining hall during my free periods, which also cover my meals. I worked at the library coffee shop at night, and on weekends, I handed out flyers or made calls for a marketing company. It was the only way to avoid my dad's calls and the threats from his creditors who knew my school address and my friends' names. During finals week, I didn't have time to sleep at all. One day, I finally collapsed and was rushed to the hospital by my frantic roommates. In my last moments of consciousness, I heard them argue. Should we tell her? Tell her what? About who? Drifting in and out of consciousness, I thought I saw Emma. She was even more beautiful, so radiant. The only thing that hadn't changed was her high ponytail. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. The name that had always been a burning brand on my heart, Emma. I whispered it. Emma. The words I could never say were, I miss you so much. I didn't even dare to think it in my dreams. I was so afraid you'd find out that I liked you too. Ethan. Her clear voice cut through the fog in my head like a knife. I forced my eyes open. Emma was holding my hand, a wide, happy smile on her face. You were saying my name. It wasn't a dream. She was really here. I struggled to sit up, my voice hoarse. How did you? I came to see you, she said. But how did you know I was here? In a flash, it clicked. I looked toward my roommates, who were hovering guiltily in the doorway. They immediately avoided my gaze. The thick comforter, the thermos, the winter coat, all of it. I gritted my teeth and pulled my hand away from hers. Get out. She was startled, but tried to calm me down. Don't get agitated. The doctor said you need to rest. I'll wait outside. Just please don't be angry. I called my roommates into the room. All that stuff was from her, wasn't it? They nudged each other, and finally one of them spoke up. Ethan, that girl is really good to you, man. Don't be an idiot. What are you so angry about? Do you have any idea she skipped her classes just to come here and see you? Once one had spoken, the others chimed in. Yeah, seriously. She goes to a different school, but she tracked us down at the beginning of the semester and asked us to look out for you. That's not easy to do. I couldn't catch my breath and started coughing violently. One of my roommates patted my back. We're all so jealous of you, man. Why are you acting like this? They didn't understand. None of them did. I would ruin her. I would destroy her life. My birthday was coming up soon. After thinking for a long time in that hospital bed, I finally unblocked Emma's number. The truth is, I would occasionally unblock her for a few seconds just to look at her Facebook page, then quickly block her again. Once, she posted a picture of a dress she loved, but it was very expensive. So over the summer, I picked up an extra night shift job and secretly bought that dress for her. I kept it carefully folded in a beautiful gift box. It was time to give it to her and to end things for good. I sent her a message, and she replied instantly. Ethan, long time no see. I typed back. I'm thinking of having a party for my birthday. Do you want to come? The typing bubble appeared for a long time before she replied. I have something going on. I probably can't make it. I said okay. Then I casually asked my roommates about a party, and they all told me to forget it and just rest in the dorm. I agreed. Then I contacted an old friend from high school, Chloe. I knew she had always had a crush on Emma. Just as I suspected, Emma was planning a surprise party for me, and Chloe was in on it. After all these years, you're finally coming to your senses? Chloe asked, her tone a bit sour. I handed her the gift box. What's this? A dress, I said. She looked surprised. Why are you giving this to me? I smiled. You'll know what to do with it. It's important, and just as planned, on my birthday, my roommates mysteriously told me they were taking me somewhere special and put a blindfold over my eyes. Sitting in the back of the cab, I tried to steel myself. Emma's sparkling eyes appeared in my mind. This time, I had to be cruel. I'm sorry, Emma. What I really meant was, stop loving me. Hate me. The more you hate me, the better. I walked back toward the private room and saw Chloe and Emma standing by the restrooms in the dimly lit hallway. Chloe was gently wiping the frosting from Emma's face before handing her the gift box. Emma opened it, and a beautiful dress shimmered under the lights. Her eyes welled up with tears as she looked at Chloe. Thank you. So you remembered, Chloe replied softly. I always remember. I turned and walked away silently. I've been stuck in the mud so long, I'd forgotten fear. I only knew how to get used to things. But Emma, you never needed to get used to that kind of darkness. Years after graduation, an old classmate told me what she was up to. She and Chloe were married. Chloe had bought a large house and had a small movie theater installed because Emma loved films. And me? Years after graduation, I was making maybe $3,000 a month, with rent taking up a third of it. I often ate only one meal a day to save money. I ended up in the hospital with a bleeding ulcer, still typing up work documents with an IV in my arm. On top of that, I still had over $50,000 of my father's debt to pay off, a mountain I could never seem to climb. Countless nights, I'd see her smiling face in my dreams, so close I could almost touch it. But every time I opened my eyes, I was greeted by the same moldy ceiling. I missed the warmth she gave me more times than I can count, but I was also endlessly grateful that I had been decisive enough to push her away. I was so close to letting my weakness and my selfish fantasies completely destroy her beautiful life. I'm so sorry, my Emma. The words I never had the chance to say to you, I wrote them on a postcard. It's in a trash can now. The crisp, new cardstock looks so out of place lying there among the garbage. Maybe some bored passerby will look inside and see the words written on it. For a love that's unequal, the best expression is to push away. Your passionate heart deserves the greatest happiness. You don't deserve to be with me 20 years from now, struggling on some city street, helping me count down the years left on a debt that was never yours. And in the worst case scenario, if we had a child, what would happen to them? What would happen to you? I'm sorry my family is such a mess. I'm sorry I'm such a mess that I don't have the ability to give you any kind of decent future. I know that right now, you would come with me without a second thought. You're not afraid, but I am. I can't let you know the truth. You have to hate me. You can't think I had my reasons. Because you would feel sorry for me, you would cry, and you would hug me tightly and say, "Don't be afraid. I'm with you. We'll face whatever comes together." But I don't want that. I don't want it all. I don't want to watch the bright, vibrant person you are now slowly lose your ability to be happy under the weight of years of struggle and pressure. I don't want to see your face grow tired and your brow permanently furrowed with worry. Most importantly, I don't want you to become my mother. I don't want the weight of life to extinguish all of your brightness and passion. This suffering is mine to bear, and mine alone. Your love was about protecting and giving. My love was about protecting you, about not wanting you to suffer needlessly. So don't cry. Just hate me. Let that hatred make you walk forward with stronger, bigger steps. And then let time wash over you until little by little, you forget me completely. This is my plan for your happiness. Since then, I haven't celebrated Valentine's Day or my birthday. But every year on February 14th, I take the evening off after work. I stand on a busy street, letting the festive atmosphere, the sounds of laughter, and the red lights of the decorations wash over me. Lanterns, fireworks, bright reds, and white snow. So many people, so much life. And then I blink, and I'm staring at the cold, stained ceiling of my rented room. I can feel time passing, my life slipping away bit by bit. After that last hospital stay for my ulcer, I was diagnosed with stomach cancer. It's terminal. I haven't told anyone. I just lie in bed, quietly waiting to die. A piercing white light shines in my eyes. I smile faintly. I know it's my time to go. In a daze, I feel like I'm back in high school, standing under that big oak tree, holding a candy wrapper in my hand. Emma, if there's a next life, I hope it isn't so hard. I hope I can stay by your side, always.